Welcome to the AgriHive Business Summit series. We hope Bill Ringrose will give some real insights to make tactical and strategic decisions for your business. The value is in planning around this information. Share this video and join a new wave of resilient businesses as they grow with www.agrihive.com. Have a great day.
Our next speaker is going to talk more about the financials, but from a very local perspective. Bill Ringrose, who many of you in this room will know, those of us joining streamed online may not be aware, but Bill Ringrose is a principal at Ringrose and Button Accountancy. It has its firm headquarters in Longreach, but has branches right across the Central West. So we'll welcome Bill Ringrose to the microphone to talk more about the local perspective and focus on those financials.
Well, thanks very much, and James, thanks very much for including us. 2 accountants in a row, that's a bit rough for people, isn't it, Rowan? It's not the most interesting guys around. I haven't got any slides. Roger, I heard he had 600, so I didn't bring any, so we'll just go along as we are. Rowan's spoken about a lot of the things that I was going to cover, but from the local perspective, we can take a look back at Kidworth and see how we can tie that to what's really happening outside. I looked at you look at the drought, and it's so easy when things go on around the world that it soon loses national focus and national interest. And then last night there's a story on the ABC about people in Walgett again who still haven't had any rain for 4 years, and they're still feeding and they're doing all these things. And so it's so easy that we lose the centre of the national media, and it's such a shame because the problem is just not going to go away. I think the points that Rowan raised particularly, relates to those years, 2013, 2014, are so true. 2013, when we didn't have that wet, there's the expectation, it was the perfect storm really. We had the live X trouble, which killed the cattle market. So people thought, well, we're going to feed. We're not going to sell on this market. And then we get the next failed wet season. And so a lot of people here have come, well, we've got to sell now, we're not going to feed 2 years in a row, we really will go broke. So they're selling into a really poor market. And this is part of the exasperation that you see, and this is part of what Kidworth shows. I think 2014, Ben alluded to that as well. It's interesting, you see these cow kills that are coming through. And that's just the numbers of cows getting killed is just an indication that people just can't hang on to their stock. And there isn't a market. And that's why it really is the perfect storm, because there's nowhere to go with them. And these last 2 years, there's almost no option. And you look at situations where maybe there would have been some hope. Maybe there were some alternatives. Maybe there was another abattoir up north that we could, just to give us another market, give us another option. We really ran out of options. If we look on the ground situation here just at the moment, and probably the last 5 years, a lot of people, I got asked to, when the Prime Minister came, I got asked to say a few words, and I said to him at the time then, people always complain about primary producers, how they don't put any money away in the good times for the bad, and there's this expectation of handouts and the like. What we've seen in our practice is most people who are on smaller properties, for argument's sake, have to make their country work so much harder. So if they should happen to get some good years, and if they should happen to get some cash surplus, they're investing it back into their place. Now, these sorts of things, a lot of people have done a lot of schools. They might be putting a whole lot more waters onto their properties so the stock aren't walking far. All these management things. People at the moment with feral dog control and kangaroos are putting fencing in to stop these predators and to stop the feral animals from competing. And this is a huge capital cost that comes out of the business. So, but when they have the capacity to be able to do those sorts of things, they do that. And unfortunately, that leaves no cash often for the hard times. People here, this increase in productivity is all they can chase. And as was alluded before, cost cutting is the only other option. As mentioned, we are price takers. So we really need to get into a position where we can turn that around. Often it's not so much from a succession planning point of view. Kids don't want to come home. And often it's not so much that they don't want to be out on the land, there's no money in the game. So some of this gets around to being able to turn around and getting a better dollar for your product is what's going to turn the situation around. The better dollar for the product leads on to more hope and the ability to be able to manage your debt. Looking at the Kidworth Station, when I was looking through it yesterday evening, I was looking at those things that do ring true to what we're seeing in the Central West. The purchase of additional country, when the property boom was going, and whether it was bank driven or what it was driven by, it certainly wasn't driven by commodity prices, but people took that opportunity then and they jumped into the market. Dry times have arrived. Same thing, low cattle prices will feed our stock. This is exactly the sort of things that we saw over the last couple of years. Continued dry times leading to selling into a poor market. Cash reserves being exhausted and therefore leaving very few options. And then as we've seen, falls in the property market as a result of the drought means that the equity is being squeezed. Again, as Rowan alluded to, you look at the debt to equity ratio on this Kidworth was getting down to 70%. So where this is not uncommon, I'd almost question that at the time when they went into the place, you look at the analysis and it was a 50-50, which is still perhaps too tight for the marginal Western country. So these are the sorts of things that Kidworth really rings out to be true to what we're seeing on the ground. I'll finish up, and get into the panel, which will be terrifically interesting, I think. There's a couple of things I think that I'd like people to consider, and I'm going a little bit off track here. Maybe out of my area, James, but that's just too bad. Considerations on a broader perspective. So is debt the problem for some of these places, or is it a problem that we're not retiring debt when we have the opportunity to? So if we're in these little properties, and when they get some cash surplus, they're putting it back into the place, that's great. But should we be retiring debt? And is the interest-only type facilities that are around that have been created in the last 15 years, are they actually contributing to some of these problems? I know, speaking to those of the older generations, if you look through those times, they always had to make principal reductions. And so when you are reducing your debt and your equity and your value in your property starts falling, you're staying with it. Whereas if you're not, you're going to cross over somewhere and you're going to cross over somewhere badly. With the falling property prices, are banks relying on valuations too much, or on the idea of a valuer? Are they hanging their hat on that when perhaps they're not looking at the underlying value of the business rather than the value of the land that's going to be sold? So this is an important part. It gets down to the valuations, I think. Is the problem that as an industry, commodity prices have just not moved to cover costs? So there's not enough money around, this is what has been alluded to. Are tax considerations overriding sort of a wealth creation mentality? So if I ask for anyone to put their hands up, primary producers say, who doesn't mind paying tax, I wouldn't get a hand up. There's a phobia about tax in the bush. And that's understandable, and that's the job that we have to reduce it. But as primary producers, you have the best tax advantages out of any industry in the country. So therefore, should we not focus on that so much and just looking at selling, at spending the money, but rather looking at maybe reducing debt and doing something else? And I'd be interested to know that if we get this expected boom in cattle prices, primary producers, say we've got some more cash, are they going to gear up and go a bit harder because there's some cash because they don't want to pay tax? Or are we going to do something to try and get to the core problem that we're looking at? And the last one's a little bit outside my range, but does the ability of off-farm income from a spouse provide a security that means people don't drill down into their business well enough? Does it make people think, oh, okay, well, my spouse is making this much money, that's okay, we can live on, I'll just do the rest and we can survive. So these are some considerations, and this is a very common thing. So look, they're just some ideas I'd like you to consider. I commend the study to you, and I'll be very interested to see the outcomes we get from this. Thanks very much.